Alright, so we have our two collar pieces here. This is our top collar because it's the one that's interfaced, and our under collar which isn't. So our first step is to stitch along the top edge here, and you have a 0.6 seam allowance here, so 6 millimeters, so you can line up the edge of the fabric with the edge of the foot, so that you hold your pieces together and work towards the end. Don't just put the pieces on top and then sew, because sometimes you can have it like that. So remember, if you're sewing two pieces together, match them at the end. And okay, so I've sewn my top edge at 6 millimeters. Now I'm just going to go to the iron and I'm going to press that seam open. We have our seam pressed open here. Now we're going to sew the ends of the collar. And the way that we do this is to fold right along our seam here, and we're just going to stitch along this edge at 0.6. Really easier to control if you start at the top edge here. So we're just putting the edge of the corner under the foot. We stitch and we back tack at the top and the bottom of that seam. And I'll do the same to the other end. Alright, so now we need to bag out the corners of our collar, and this is one of the few instances where I generally snip away some of the excess fabric, because obviously this seam, when it's bagged out, has to fold inside, and you can see we'll have excess fabric there. So I'm just going to trim away that corner. Now don't get too close to the corner, leave a couple of millimeters there, and then we're going to fold that and poke it under here. Now you can use your snips if you have them to help push that corner out. Now be very careful when you're prying this corner out, because if you push too hard, the snips will actually go through. Okay, so one last thing before we stop working on our collar piece for the moment is to we have our shoulder notches here, so we have our two shoulder notches, and this is our center back notch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to clip in at that shoulder notch 5 millimeters. Now the seam allowance is 6, so we're just stopping a tiny bit short so that we don't go overboard. And what we're going to do now is we're going to fold that edge under. If you actually do it from the inside, and remember this is the piece, this is the top collar, so it's the one that has the interfacing on it. If you fold it over, you can actually see the 6 mil. And what we're going to do is just do a little stitch along the edge here. We're going to pin stitch along the edge, and this is going to help it. It might not make sense now, but when we come to insert the collar, you'll see why we're doing this. It just helps make the insertion of the collar a lot easier. So you can see on this side, all I've done, so I've got the little step with my seam allowance, and I've just pin stitched along that folded edge there, so where the two shoulder notches